I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Fruit and Vegetable Magazine, reporting to you here today with Ivan Milosavljevic. He's from the California Citrus Research Board, hired a little over a year ago, actually pushing 2 years. I wanted to talk with you specifically today about some of those IPM focuses that you do. You kind of help bridge the gap in communication between the Citrus Research Board and our growers and PCAs. We've got a lot of issues with Asian citrus psyllid, vector of Huanglongbing, and one of those IPM integrated approaches is ant control, right? Ants are a serious pest of citrus, and for the main reason that they protect a lot of the species of insects and bugs that attack our citrus trees and as well as the fruits. And so getting a hold of those ants, especially Argentine, is critical. But as we know, the ants are very resilient, and they're really hard to get a hold on. So there's so many different methods of ant control out there, but not a lot of effective ways to get them because they always come back. So can you tell us about some of the research that you've been working with? What ways don't work and what ways might or do?
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, of course, on the show. Yes, like you mentioned, the Argentine ants are a big problem in our orchards, not just in citrus, in any type of annual or perennial crop production systems that they have, sucking pests, for example, or aphids. They will produce the honeydew, which these ants really love, and it has been a problem for citrus growers for many years now, and it has increased with the increased numbers of these different pests over time. We have the mealybugs that they really love, the brown soft scales, the other soft scales, the Asian citrus psyllid, as you mentioned. All of them will feed on a phloem sap and eventually excrete the sugar, which these ants love. So they're the sugar, as we call them, sugar-feeding ants, right? They will also need some protein, but they will primarily come to the sugar-feeding source. And for them in citrus, primarily is the sugary poop, as we call them, or honeydew, right? So with that in mind, we have developed, or people have tried over many years to make it better, a system to actually attract these ants and develop a bait for them, right? So a liquid bait was one of them that has been shown to be very effective, and you can use those bait stations, the Ant Pros, the green ones, and fill them with a liquid water with a water that has a liquid sugar in it dissolved, like 25% sugar, and put a very small amount of a pesticide, something that it's a slow acting. These ants will come to that food source, and foraging ants, and because their nests are below ground, they will take that food into their mouth. They will go below the trees where their nests are, feed the queens, which are the ones that are producing more and more ants, right? And feed their young ones. And essentially, once they get poisoned with a poison, and this is why we need a slow-acting poison in those baits, essentially the colony will collapse and will have a better effect on the colony management, right?
And historically we had things like borate, a very small percentage, so that the ant could make it back to the queen alive and pass it on. But you mentioned, in a presentation that really isn't terribly effective, is it?
No, we in our trials we didn't have a much success with the boric acid, essentially because it will not kill the queens. It will only kill the workers. And that has been a problem with basically a chlorpyrifos, which was primarily used to control these ants. And you would spray the chlorpyrifos around the trees, on the trunks, on the ground. It will kill the foragers, but it won't kill the queens that are inside the nests. Essentially, it was the same with the boric acid. It wouldn't have that effect on the queens. What we have found in our trials is that thiamethoxam, which is a neonicotinoid, right, is one of the most effective ones. It's currently our golden standard when we evaluate different chemicals to use in these baits. And spinosad is another one that has shown a promise as well as an organic option to the growers. So, but we are still evaluating different products and timings of the years when they will be more effective in these baits.
And how do you apply these? In what form will the ants take it in? Are you spraying them on the ants? Are you slow feeding? What works? Because you have to compete with, especially if you're it's a bait. You have to compete with the great nutrients that they're getting from these other insects in the trees. So how do you compete with that?
Okay, that's a great question. I'll go back to that, but first of all, I have to mention as well that we have, over time, I mentioned the green bait stations, right? We have developed a similar method to actually be more sustainable in managing them in a form of developing a biodegradable hydrogel beads. And these beads are made of food grade materials like sodium alginate and calcium chloride that you can buy on Amazon. Make them and make a very small beads that you soak into a water tub with a sugar and a poison again. They will absorb that sugar and act then as the miniature bait stations. It's the same principle as the bait stations, right? The problem was that once you combine the two, you will have an illegal method of applying those chemicals in your orchards, even though they're approved for citrus, right? So what we are now working on with the DPR and everybody else on developing these steps, how to address this problem. The first step was to get these beads on their own approved as adjuvants to be used with the chemicals, and this is what we did, and this is a great news for growers. However, it's still illegal when you combine them with the chemicals. So now we're moving back to working with the registrants and the DPR again on getting the 24C exemption to apply these gels in combination with the chemicals and actually apply these, that growers can use these baits as a form of their tool, because it's very essential. And this is still in the process, but we're making good progress on all the fronts, and hopefully we'll have them available for growers soon. So with that in mind, I'm going back to your question. You said how we will go about whatever else is present in the fields. Yes, all of our efficacy trials were done at the times of the year when ants peaked and when pests peaked. It was an effective way, but they will rebound. The better option, and this is what we are going to go back and do this year, is the timing of the application. So when the ants are lower on the trees, which means early in the spring, when they're still developing and escalating their populations over time, and as well as when the pests are present on the trees. Because if they have enough honeydew, they might not come to the bait, like you mentioned. This is a good point. But if there is not enough honeydew and everything is still developing, and we control these ants at the very beginning, and maybe apply some other treatments, because biocontrol would be more effective when the pests number are lower, like applying a parasitoids or a predators, there would probably be a much better way of controlling the ants, and this is what we are trying to figure out at the moment. Or this is what we will be focused on doing this year.
Well, that's really great, and I think especially the work of the hydrogels and thinking about how to get those approved quickly. It's really hard with DPR, but really appreciate the work that you guys are doing to help that and helping to address DPR and saying that this is an emergency. We're talking about something that could, help mitigate Asian citrus psyllid and HLB, which has the potential to decimate an industry. So, hopefully that can get the attention of DPR. This should really be a priority, and I hope that all works out. Thank you so much for addressing this today. Read more about these things in California Fruit and Vegetable Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.